As I've probably mentioned to the point of nausea, I'm interested in education, learning, ideas, how we can infect the world with better ideas. So I just read this book by Salman, creator of the Khan Academy, which is, if you haven't heard of it, it's a great resource for learning. He started it, I want to say in 2004, when YouTube really opened the gates for people to start creating videos. And he started putting up these math videos, originally just for his cousins in India, and then they became popular and he started branching off. He incorporated other teachers, he expanded, he used software to let people test themselves, and it's pretty good. I wouldn't say I've used it for math and other things, and it works sometimes, but then every now and then you hit a wall in which there are still gaps in it, I feel. But it's gotten much better and it continues to improve. So I certainly applaud what he's doing. And I wanted to read his ideas about education. So this book, The One World Schoolhouse, gives you, it lets you see a lot of the things that, from his perspective, could be done to improve education, especially in the United States. We spend so much money on education. We send our kids to these lectures that he calls it broadcast lectures, where we kind of train people to just listen to things and be passive. And that's one of his criticisms of our current education system. And I agree. I think we need more active learners. We need to make... Anyways, he talks a lot about his ideas. Although he uses videos, it's not the complete end-all of education. He has so many ideas. Some of them dovetail with my own ideas about how we can make education free or more than free. We can pay people to be educated. He's talking more about, providing internships at the high school or college level that are paid, more internship work and less class time, busy work. There is so much about our education system that can be improved. I wish I could have educated myself, but wish, what can you do? So all we can do now is try and make the world better for other educators. I think our world is changing very rapidly, and that we can provide a free or more than free education for everybody, and it's just a matter of destructuring and restructuring the current education system, because he's critical of a lot of things, just even things like summer vacation, which he points out will not make him popular. But education, as it is right now, is still something that a lot of students look at and they're like, ugh, I hate that. They like some things about it, but there's so much about it that they're forced to do. They don't see the point of learning things like math, a lot of math. They hate it, and it doesn't have to be that way. I think if you approach education right, it can be exciting and it can be something they want to do. And he's seen it, I've seen it, and anyone who's experienced it themselves, which I'm guessing you have if you're interested in books and learning by watching this video. There's so much that can be done. So if you are interested in any of that, please read this book. It is pretty good. I agree with probably 90-95% of it. There's just some tweaks that I'll be talking about more. I'm working on this booklet about education, but there's so much about testing, about homework, that we don't know if it's really the best way to do things. And why not shake it up a little? Because what we're currently doing is not working at all. We have this, I'm really concerned about this woman that's taking over as the Department of Education. She's interested in charter schools, and I feel like it's going to widen the gap between what the rich get and what the poor get for education. Is going to be horrible. We need a nation of drones working crappy jobs and being docile. We need people that are not afraid to shake things up and restructure the world. So I admire a lot of apps like Duolingo, Khan Academy. I admire things like Maker Labs and all these other alternative approaches that get people actively doing things. I think there's so much, I mean, one of my favorite quotes is about, I've heard it different ways, but Marshall McLuhan talks about how we can't make this distinction between education and entertainment. We need to make, our entertainment is a type of education. It's just like, is it serving us? If it's, so I have this idea, I'm not going to talk about it here, but I just think there's so much we can do with education and entertainment. I'm interested in gamification. He doesn't talk much about gamification. I think he does include it to a degree in his Khan Academy, but I feel like it could be way more interesting. One other thing he talks about that I liked a lot is the idea that education doesn't stop when you're an adult. You need to be lifelong learners. I mean, I've started learning so many great things. I'm in my 30s, and I mean, I didn't really start playing piano till my 30s. I didn't really start doing like some higher level math until my 30s. So it's not something that you can stop. You can go back, and it helps the brain. You got to constantly be pushing yourself, expanding, and it will keep your brain healthy. A lot of the things like dementia and Alzheimer's, I'm not saying they're completely based on what you're doing. There seem to be genetic elements and things like that. But a lot of it, I think, can be, like, I've seen these studies with the nuns that they have, like, they show physical damage in their brain, but you don't see it in when they take tests and stuff, because they stay active with things like gardening and music and so on, that allows them to somehow reroute the brain faculties that will allow them to still function and not succumb to dementia. But so many people just retire, or they get their job, and then their job doesn't really allow them to learn. It's a rote system of things, a very contained system, and if you don't expand beyond that, when you retire, you just stagnate, and then you have all these brain issues. So don't stop learning. Use things like the Khan Academy, like I said, Duolingo. There's actually so many apps for whatever you want to learn nowadays. Some of them are better than others. And I feel like he doesn't talk enough about getting people off of technology and creating community environments. He talks a lot about in the summer school system, in summers when students just go home and watch TV and video games. And he kind of encourages things like watching his videos, and that's great. But I think what is missed a lot is the community aspect, and that's what I see so much with our technology, is it driving communities to isolation. And I think that's a problem we need to address, because otherwise we're going to see these things like, news bubbles and Facebook bubbles of people not connecting with other people and hearing other ideas because they're so locked into their electronic worlds. So, yeah. But still, a lot of really good stuff in this book. If you are interested in education, please read it.